Welcome to another episode of Third Shot Podcast. Whatever platform you're listening on, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can also check us out on our website, thirdshotpodcast.com, or on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook as well as YouTube. So come watch us at Third Shot Podcast. You can also find us on X at Third Shot Pod. And while you're there, please leave us a comment or a review or just give us all those 5 stars. We're ready for it. I'm getting my glass ready.
I'm ready for this.
Ready to toast. I've got a special one this week. So
Oh,
I'll let
what's
you know.
okay? What do you got
nice.
there?
So this is the Paris Hotel, and you can kind of see the Eiffel Tower behind it. It's like in my glass, the Eiffel Tower.
Oh,
Oh,
that's cool.
And it's a special one because one of our listeners, aka my second cousin, she comes to visit Vegas all the time and she stays at Paris, and she got me this on her last trip here.
Nice.
that's cool. Well, thank you for
Yeah,
that
thanks
big
for
word.
supporting the show.
Yeah, and
Cheers.
listening. Actually, I believe she not only listens, she watches, right? On YouTube.
She does on YouTube, yeah.
Awesome.
That
She's
is so
set up
cool.
with our beautiful faces on her screen.
Keeps the family close, right? You don't have to be seeing each other all the time in person. You can do it through YouTube now.
Exactly.
And we're growing our family. So all of our listeners who have supported us, I feel like, we're in their home. Like, I guess we're
are, yeah.
family now.
You know what I noticed the other day? I'm totally just I derailing our conversation here, but I do have to say, speaking of listeners, over on Apple Podcasts, our subscribers cracked the 100 mark just on Apple alone, which is really cool.
Yay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That
that
is
just happened
awesome.
like in the last, I don't know, week or so. So that's great.
And I think on YouTube we just cracked 50, right? It's
Nice.
not a million, but it's
It's
50.
new.
So thank
It's
you
new.
for your
What are you gonna
support.
do?
That much closer to a mill.
Yeah,
Exactly.
getting there. You're right.
Exactly.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
The other thing, I think the other maintenance thing to stay here is the Google Podcasts. If you subscribe to us, because I did notice we had a bunch of people subscribe to us over on Google. Google Podcasts is going away. So either subscribe to us on Google, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts other than Google Podcasts, since that's going away. So make sure you do that.
Yeah, and I think all the Google listeners are going to be moved over to
YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. So now they'll be able to see us.
Yeah, maybe we'll break 100 soon.
Exactly. Let's make
Okay,
that happen.
that's what we need. We need 100.
100 on YouTube.
just like on Apple, we got to break 100, and then we're gonna be celebrities, right? So people.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I have some exciting news to share.
Okay.
Well, for me, I'm sorry. This
Okay.
is selfish. But I think I've mentioned before, they were putting in a chicken and pickle in Vegas.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's like less than a mile from my house.
Oh, I didn't know it was that close to you.
It's so close. And I saw they finally put up a structure. So the end is in sight where I can just like drive down the street and be at Chicken and Pickle.
Wow, that's awesome.
Is it a big place?
It's really tough for me to tell. I've never been good at like estimating the size of things, and it's in an empty lot. So, all you can see is a frame, and then everything around it is pretty underdeveloped. There's nothing out there yet.
Mhm.
There's a Costco that's like
Oh, I know
ways-
exactly what you're talking about then. Okay.
it's right next to Costco.
Oh,
Nice.
wow. Okay. That is
Yeah,
very
so if
close.
you don't want to eat chicken at Chicken and Pickle, you can go get a hot dog
Or a
pizza,
chicken at Costco.
or a chicken bake.
Yeah. Well, there are other restaurants in that little shopping center too. There's a
There
bunch
are,
of
yeah.
stuff right there.
It's
So a lot of
getting
options.
built up.
A lot of options to eat.
Right. This is dangerous, but at least I'll be playing pickleball to wear some of this off.
Work it off.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the menu there at the Chicken and Pickle? Is it mainly just chicken? Do we know? Like what's the
I have no idea.
They have
Okay.
a lot of things. They have a
Do
lot
they?
of things.
A lot of different things?
Obviously, chicken is the mainstay, like chicken sandwiches and all that kind of stuff. But they have other sandwiches as well. I think they have salads. I don't know what other main courses they have.
So
Entrees.
like kind of like pub food almost, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you want to eat while you play pickleball or before or after? Oh,
Mm.
that's actually a good question. Would you dare to eat before you play pickleball?
No.
Never. Would you never do that? I mean, I would.
Of course
I
you
think
would.
there's been times when Uncle was in Vegas, we ate like this big meal, and on the way home, he's like, "Do you want to stop at Sunset and play some pickleball?" I'm
Wow.
like, "Yeah, sure," but there's
Well, I mean, like you said, you gotta work it off, right? I mean, it helps
Oh
the
man.
guilt of taking in 5,000 calories at dinner, I think. So no,
Oh,
you guys are out. You would not eat before playing.
I
I would
don't think
try
I
to
would eat
play first, eat
before.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
How about drinking? Would you have an alcoholic drink before you play pickleball?
Hmm.
A beer, a
Maybe
cocktail,
maybe
anything
something light.
light?
Like a
Yeah, I
cider.
mean, I don't wanna be falling down on the court, like
Okay, yeah, we don't wanna be drunk, but, I mean, would you loosen up and, with your buddies and stuff like that, "Hey, let's have a drink. We are third shot, so let's have a shot and then go play."
Oh, maybe.
I
I
don't
think
do
I would
well with
wait till after.
alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Uncle's totally down. He'll
So
eat, he'll drink, he'll do whatever before he plays.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
mean,
think
okay, so here's the thing, right? When I don't play well, shouldn't have had that chicken and waffle," or, "Oh, that 3rd shot got
I
me,"
see.
right? I don't know. Right? You
Oh.
gotta
Just
build in
to
the
yeah,
excuses.
cover up.
From my golfing background, you always had some built-in excuses ready to go. "Oh, yeah, I slept wrong on my shoulder," or,
Mhm.
"Woke up too
Mhm.
early, had to drive too far, my back's stiff." Right. I'm the master at built-in excuses to not playing well. So I think if I
Nice.
ate too much or drank too much before I played, okay, even if I didn't, that's my reason. I didn't play
Right.
well.
That's smart. I might need to change my answer.
What would you serve? Okay, if you
Hmm.
opened up your own venue and you could serve whatever food you want, what would you serve?
I think I would serve like I love Asian food of like all kinds, and they have some really delicious pickled things. Like
Okay.
if you're looking at Asian food as a whole, there's, kimchi,
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
pickled radishes and all of the sorts. So I think kind of like an appetizer type. Maybe not meals, but like different Asian appetizers and side dishes with like pickled stuff to go with the pickled theme.
That
Now,
that sounds amazing.
would you do the fried pickles? Because, like, Hooters, I've
Mhm.
never had fried pickles until I went to a Hooters at one point, and I go, "Hey, these are actually pretty darn good." I was surprised.
I could probably do like like Chinese fried chicken wings, how it has like five spice. Use
Oh.
that batter on like a kimchi cucumber.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
I like
I need
this.
to come up with a name for this though. But the food, I can put a menu together tonight.
Well,
I'm liking this.
yeah.
Uh, can we just make the whole episode just this, where you're describing food? Wouldn't that be a great podcast? Just people just describing food.
That'll be
Well
our next.
Russ, you and I talked about maybe doing a barbecue podcast because
Right.
right? Is that the food you would choose to, serve?
Uh, the only problem is the stickiness, right?
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
getting that all over your hands. You don't want to get that all over you just paid $300 for a paddle. Do you really want to get this on it? So
Right,
I don't know. Now I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're eating afterwards, it's fine. But
right.
something like a hot wings or barbecue this
This
might be
is
the
in
first time that I say no. However, they go great with pickles.
they do.
So I don't know. I'm up in the air. Maybe it's sandwiches, barbecue sandwiches.
Like brisket sandwich or
There you
pulled
go.
pork sandwich,
Ooh.
but not too saucy?
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
And pickles go on the sandwich. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh.
Okay.
Right.
Y'all are
Okay.
making me way too hungry.
I know. I know. What about like a pastrami sandwich, right? Like the pastrami with the pickles. You get the big
Yes.
pickle on this. Like,
Yes.
so it could be like, brisket, and then you've got like the pastrami thing going on. You've just got like maybe like a New York deli type of feel to the pickleball place.
Mm.
Well, Nick, close to where Bridgie lives is the South Point Casino, and their deli has an amazing pastrami or corned beef sandwich. I mean, oh,
Yes. It's like this thick, like
Oh,
2 or
nice.
3 inches of just meat.
yeah.
Wow.
I
Okay.
don't think I could eat that before I play pickleball, though. I mean, it is pretty good size. It's heavy.
So,
It's heavy.
how about this? What if you had like you had the menu set up so that you had pre-game, post-game meals, right? First of all, then you
Oh.
get people coming back twice before they play and after they play. But you have these kind of light snacks beforehand, like, like almost like little finger foods, little appetizer type of things
Mhm.
beforehand. And afterwards, you just go all in.
Okay, so now would you have like a little side table on every court and have waiters or waitresses serve you while you're actually on the court so you could munch in between games?
Mm, wow. Well, now we're getting into like top golf
Right,
territory here, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I
It could be interesting. I mean, what could be kind of fun too is like, let's say you had, you had 4 people playing and you had 4 people at that little cocktail table off to the side
mhm,
waiting to play next. And then, you're just rotating through. So while you're
right.
watching, the other people play, you're enjoying whatever.
I like this idea. And then we can, like smoothies or those types of things or what gets served a lot or
Yeah.
like Bridgie, like the finger foods, right? I could totally see people wanting to kind of munch as they're waiting for their turn to play.
Right.
Oh, I think we got something. Now we just got to come up with a name and a place to play this at or build
Yeah,
this.
exactly, right?
I love
Right
it.
next to chicken and pickle.
Just take them down.
Yeah.
Oh. We're closing them before they even open. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I would make sure we had at this facility is a place that people can buy paddles. Because a lot of times, like you mentioned Top Golf, right? You go to Top Golf, a lot of people don't have their own golf clubs, right? They have a bunch of clubs there for you to try out, stuff like that. I think we should have like a pro shop where people can rent the paddles out or buy the paddles once they fall in love with them. And I know that they would love the Triple J paddles because we had an opportunity to try them out, and we're lucky enough to have their owner, Luis Garcia, joining us after the break. And he can explain to all of us how did he build these amazing paddles at the price point he's selling them at, which is fantastic. So please come back and join us with Luis from Triple J Pickleball. Welcome back to Third Shot. I appreciate you hanging out during the quick break. As always, we super appreciate all the support that you've been providing us on social media. It just keeps blowing up. I mean, we're getting more and more people coming on to our social media accounts, whether it's Facebook. We're really big on Instagram right now. We're getting even bigger on YouTube. That's been growing. So thank you so much for your support, all the feedback, all the comments. Keep them coming. Bridgie and I, we've had the experience of trying out a brand new paddle out there from Triple J, and we are lucky enough to have the owner, Luis Garcia, joining us today. Luis, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Just happy to be here. Appreciate what you guys are doing for the community and just making pickleball more accessible to people. And the way you guys communicate, I think, is awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, and
Yeah, of
thank you
course.
for being on our show and for letting us try your amazing paddles. Before we get into all of the details, we'd like to do a little toast to Triple J Pickleball.
Good.
Here we
Cheers.
go.
Cheers. That went down smooth.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So, Luis, tell us, how did you get involved with pickleball? Were you always a pickleball player, racket sport
Mm.
player? What's your story?
Yeah, so I actually tried tennis out, I think in 2013, and I shot a ball over the fence. And it wasn't for me. I didn't play it in high school or anything
You
like
should have
that.
been playing baseball if you could hit it over the
Sounds
fence.
like it, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, but man, it was just yeah. So I didn't have a lot of racket sport. I was in the Army for some time, and then when I deployed, I picked up a ping pong paddle overseas,
Oh, cool.
and that was a little bit more, I think, calming. And then you run into pickleball, which is like this hybrid, right? And it's like, okay, this is doable for me. You know, the ball doesn't travel as fast, but it's also not as small as a ping pong. So you know, there's more margin for error there. And at the time, I was actually a youth pastor at a church, and the recreational center was literally in the same building where my office was. So the rec guy there started a pickleball thing. And one day I'm walking out to the water fountain, and I'm hearing these, and
It
people
was
having a lot of good.
calling you.
Yeah, and I was like, "What is that? Like, what is that?" And honestly, I was like, "It's kind of annoying. Like, what is that noise?" So I popped my head inside, and some people I knew were there. Older people, retired. They were just having a good old blast, and they're like, "Luis, come and play." So I hop in there. They give me the pickleball paddle, the like the wooden one.
Uh-huh.
The brand is Pickleball. The nets were green, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Here is this." It leaves like a black streak on your hand. That one, yeah. And we started playing, and I the ball was staying within the court at least, and these guys were whooping my butt. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? How are these guys beating me? So then the competitive aspect came, and next thing you know, I was just hooked. I enjoyed it. The learning curve was extremely easy, but then there was also the challenge of like, okay, there is very neat shots and very precise things that you can still improve on. So it's cool in the sense that anyone can come in and have a rally, but it's also cool in the fact that like it has a lot of aspects that you still have to learn if you want to get even better. So that's how I started playing. And then in this past year, in 2022, I had my third boy, which was Josiah. And during that time, we were at the hospital, and this is our third baby, so we kind of had a routine. We knew how many bags to pack. It was honestly a vacation for me and my wife. Like we really enjoyed it because we didn't have the other two. The house was taken care of. We just, they were bringing us food at the hospital. We were watching TV. So it was like a little vacation, little 2-day vacation that we had. And just sitting there at the hospital, I did a lot of research on. I watched an interview with the guy from Double Black Diamond, how he
Uh-huh.
created his company and everything like that. And I had an itch to kind of leverage the sport a little bit for the sake of other things, like maybe not just playing it for the sake of me, but playing it so that maybe we can build community and help people, in one way or another. And also just the thought of how cool would it be to be around pickleball as a means to provide, for my family. I think that would be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So then in those 2 days, I began to research, and we began to look at the technology of paddles and stuff like that, and also already kind of diving into that. Matter of fact, my first thermoform paddle was a Double Black Diamond, and before that, I played with a paddle from these guys out in Washington called Players Pickleball, which their approach was make it affordable, cut the middleman, and they make their own paddles here stateside, and they were 120, which at the time was for me already an expensive paddle. 120, I'm like,
Yeah.
man, 120. So now that's like a budget brand. That's a budget price. But 120, it was cold press, and it was 13 millimeters. So I was like, this has got to be the best technology on earth, And then I played with a Double Black Diamond, and I was like, this is incredible. It's like it does all the work for you. Like, where's the button? Like, because I got it on and off. So yeah, so I dove into that. I fell in love with thermoform paddles, and then we just began researching, how to get our hands on that technology, and then how can we make that technology available to people, without the expensive price tag. And I think we have the luxury of doing that because where we stand as a company, we're not yet, sponsoring athletes at the highest level where, we have to pour out all this money. We try to save on packaging, and we try to save on like big brand marketing. I think if we can save that money, then we can offer the paddle, that we do at a very, very affordable price. So that's sort of how it came to be. And obviously we want to at some point grow to the point where we can provide a lot for the community and just give the community something back and hopefully grow pickleball in places that I know pickleball isn't going to go unless somebody goes there. So yeah, that's kind of how we got there.
Yeah, I mean, I totally appreciate the fact that you are making it more accessible to people, right? You got a great paddle, but you make it affordable, right? And that
Right.
that's not the philosophy of a lot of companies right now. A lot of companies want to make it, as affordable as possible, but you figured
Sure.
out a way to keep your price tag under 3 digits, right? I mean, it's
Right.
it's under 3 digits for a really good paddle. It's like I appreciate that. I thank you for, having and filling that space because I think pickleball needs that for a lot of the people that are, getting into it and really
Sure.
love it and they want the technology that like that cheat code, right? You
Right.
need that paddle to
Right.
do the work for you. And you created it. And I was just wondering like how, you mentioned a little bit like you don't have to sponsor the pro athletes. It's still not easy to be able to provide a good paddle and the amount of research that goes into creating a good paddle at the price point that you do. How did you pull that off?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that we did is I think we spent around 2 months just talking to manufacturers until we landed on one that we knew was actually manufacturing for two other bigger brand companies. So the benefit of that was that these companies had already gone through the delamination issues. So we came in on the end of the company rectifying that. And what we found out was that if we can attain the paddles from a manufacturer that is currently making some of the best thermoform paddles in the market that have been proven to resist core crushing and everything like that, then we got our hands on a product that's proven, that has been tested and that performs to the highest standard. So we did that, and then we began just ordering samples. We order samples in shapes and stuff like that. We tempered with the grit. The grit matters, and we came to find out that the grit that I think most people want would fail testing. So all of our paddles have played in both PPA and APP tournaments and have passed testing. So we're certain that our grit level is going to pass that. And then we just tested it by like there's a guy in Hammond. There's a park here in Atlanta called Hammond, and 5.0 players and above go there. It's kind of like the Lions Den, like you better bring your A game if you're gonna step in there. And this guy named Kevin, really cool guy. He's known for core crushing. Like he is known for just destroying. And he plays singles very aggressively. And he got his hands on a judo paddle from a friend of mine who had his, and he tried for months and couldn't crush the core. I
He
think the
tried
edge.
for months to
He tried. That
paddle
was like his sole purpose. He played with it at a PPA tournament, but he just couldn't crush it. So these were sort of some of the tests that we did, and once we felt certain that we had a product that was going to withstand, we offer a 1-year warranty just because we know how much you can put it through. And I don't think most players play at Kevin's level, where they're just driving everything. They're probably more cautious with their money and stuff like that. So we knew that once that happened, that we had paddles on our hand that were going to perform, and we went ahead and pulled the trigger on those three particular molds that we have. It's just the 14 millimeter Jack King, the 16 Judge, and the 16 millimeter Judah. So two of which I see on your screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk a little bit more about your paddles and what the specs are for each one. I do have the Judah here. Let me put it a little closer for the people who are watching. Beautiful paddle, great
gorgeous.
design. It's very powerful. When I actually tested this paddle out with Uncle when he came to visit me here in Vegas.
Mm.
And after I was playing with it, I was like, "You gotta play with this one because there's some power behind this thing." And he was like, he was playing with his too. He's like, "You gotta try this one because this one's really good." So Uncle has the Joking behind him.
Yeah.
It's the one that
And
has
and
the
and my
crown
my
design.
my my little thing is like this King is I'm not joking when I play the King. I mean, it is a beast out there on the court. It's a 14 millimeter, and it just has some pop. It's fast. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous design, as Bridgie was saying, and I just had a blast playing it. And it was tough because Bridgie and I were like, "Who's gonna get which one? Which one are we?" Because
Yeah.
we don't live together. We
Right.
live in different states. We're like, "Who's getting this one? Who's getting the Judah? Who's getting the King?" And so we had to arm wrestle, and Bridgie won, so she got the
I
Judah.
got first pick.
Honestly, the Judah's my go-to. So you made a good pick.
See?
I honestly, when I tried with the Jack King, it's got too much for me, and yeah, it's just too much fun. I can't control that thing, and so I like the Judah. Judah's right in the middle
Well,
for
tell
me. So.
everybody the specs of the different. You got three different paddles. We mentioned the King, the Judah, and then we also have the Judge. So tell
Right.
everybody what the differences are of those three different paddles.
Yeah, so the Judge is our most elongated paddle. It's also the most head heavy, so it's not fast. The swing weight's the highest on that one, but it also has the greatest twist weight, which is how much the paddle will rotate in your hand. So it's a great like reset machine, and it's very plush. And it has plow through if you can swing it fast enough, but it's heavy. You know what I mean? So that one right there, we recommend usually for the beginners to intermediate players, just because it's going to give you a lot more forgiving shots. The sweet spot's huge on it. And when we tried it out versus other elongated 16 millimeter paddles, others were less forgiving and had a higher twist weight. And then it just feels very full. Like the core just feels very, very full. It's just going to give you a lot of feedback on the ball, and the ball's going to rest on the surface a lot more. It also has the second longest handle out of all the paddles that we have. So it's measuring at around 5.3. So that one's the Judge, and if you guys, I got one right here. If you guys want to see it, it's actually this one right here. You can see it's our most elongated paddle, and he's got his own design right there as well. But this one's gonna just absorb things and gonna provide you a lot of control. And then, like you said, we have our Judah right here. So the Judah is another 60 millimeter, and it does have a little bit less of a pop than the Joaquin, but it does give you that power as well. So this one we kind of recommend for the all-around player. It's quicker at the net, and it also the swing weight's a lot lower, just because the balance of the paddle is more centered on this one than, for example, this one. You get more of the balance, the center of the paddle down here. So this one's a lot more balanced, so it's going to give you a lot more. And it plays similar to Rhombus or a double black diamond. And then ultimately we will have our, this what most guys and girls probably go to when they play at the upper level is the Joaquin. And I've heard a lot of people say that this plays similar to a Carbon 1X, just without the price tag. So the 14 millimeter, obviously the core is thinner, so it's going to be a lot more poppy. The ball is going to be on the paddle surface less, and this offers a 5.5 handle. So a lot of people like to put two hands on this, and because the handle is longer, the width is smaller, just so we fall within standard of measurements. So the sweet spot is going to be a little smaller as well. Twist weight is going to be a little bit higher. But yeah, and then I'll give y'all a preview. We're working right now
Oh,
on on
Sneak peek.
on the Joaquin KV, which would be a Kevlar surface paddle. So
whoa!
if you
Ooh.
What's
notice,
Kevlar?
so I got these actually this week, and I took them out to play this morning. And when I tell it's a game changer. It's plush. It's like everything that Joaquin's lacking now it has without the loss of the power.
Is
It
it a
actually
14 millimeter paddle
it
as
is
well?
it is a 14, so it's the exact same mold as the Joaquin, but it's Kevlar, and it's quieter, surprisingly, and it still provides tremendous spin. I would say it even provides more spin than the carbon surface, but it's more plush. Like it's a little bit more controllable. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but we're looking to experiment with that. And like I've mentioned before, a lot of the technology that's out there for paddles is accessible. It's not patented, so
Mhm.
anyone can get their hands on it, and that's what we're trying to do. So if the technology's out there, let's put it on a paddle and see how it does, and give it to people for very low prices. So
What is of your estimated time on when people can start purchasing the Kevlar one? Do you have like
so
a timeline?
yeah, so right now we'll probably undergo just the USAPA approval. We like doing things by the book,
Mhm.
so we'll make sure we have that. And funny story, I was at a tournament in Macon 2 weeks ago, and one of the judges came up to me and was like, "Hey, I recognize that brand he's playing with, and you're wearing the shirt. Are these paddles approved?" I'm not kidding you. They said, "Are these paddles approved?" And I said, "Yeah, they're approved." And they were like, "Okay, can I look them up real quick?" And she did a paddle search on
Oh,
the
Oh,
wow.
spot. Yeah, and I don't know. I guess if it wouldn't have came up, she would have been like, "Hey, you can't play with that here." So
at least they're
anyway,
being thorough.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought she just was trying to have a
Doing her
conversation, but
job.
she was checking me out. So she pulled all three of our paddles. So glad
That's
we went,
cool.
we did it by the book. But
Good.
yeah, we'll probably undergo the USAPA approval, and then we'll do a little bit more testing. We need to hit a lot more just to make sure that the course doesn't crush due to the surface. It's a different surface, so it's a different response on the ball. So we just want to make sure that it lasts as well. We don't want it, to last maybe like a month and then the friction resolve or anything like that. So we'll do some testing. So hopefully, maybe in 2 to 3 months, we'll have it available. If it passes USAPA testing, we may start pre-order sooner. But Kevlar's like the thing right now, and
Yeah.
and they're selling it for crazy, and I'm like,
Well,
you
I
can
gotta
get
ask
that.
you, like, I have a joke question and I have a serious question. If
Go ahead.
somebody shoots me and I put the Kevlar paddle in front of me, will it block me? Will it save my life? Right?
I don't.
I'm thinking Kevlar, right? It's got to be able
Yeah,
to stop a
yeah.
bullet.
So Kevlar. So when I was in the military, we wore flak vests and everything like that, and the plate was what stopped the bullet. Now, if it's armor piercing, it's gonna kill you, Uncle Greg. I'm
Okay.
sorry, it's gonna get through there. But
Well, the thing is there's no armor piercing pickleballs yet. So if
no,
somebody
we need
goes
some.
for a body shot on me, if I put that Kevlar paddle, I think I'm safe.
Yeah, you'll block
I
them.
think so. Yeah, it'll block it for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think I think the way Kevlar works is all the layers are like stacked up, and it's supposed to stop like gun rounds, anything that's round on the tip. So I think a pickleball
Good.
will fall in that category. Yeah,
Good. You never know where I'm gonna travel to play pickleball, so sometimes
that's true.
safety first, so I'm glad to hear that. The second
Spe-
question is a little more serious. It's like, what is the big deal about Kevlar as a surface? Like, why is that
Okay,
different
yeah,
than carbon and, the other surfaces?
sure. So Kevlar has been it's used actually. It's a fire retardant, so it's actually used in like fire rescue clothing and stuff like that by the fire department. So it's extremely abrasive, and it's also extremely resistant. So I think what most paddle manufacturers are looking for is one, a surface that won't deteriorate after a long time, but it's also not gritty at all. It's super smooth. So now now we're talking about increasing the ability for spin on a ball without limit to friction, right? Without limit to how rough the surface is going to be. And I think the more you can make the Kevlar surface adhere to a ball, I think the more you can bump it up without having to worry about those specific limits on how much grit it can actually have. So we're looking at one at durability, which is extreme, right? And then two, we're looking at the ability for, um, virtually limitless. Right? More grip on a ball. It's not a rubber, which is what the USAPA prohibits. Right? So the
Mhm.
paddle surfaces can't have rubber because rubber is extremely adhesive. Right? It grabs the ball really bad, and then deflection also on the paddle surface. But when we're looking at Kevlar, it's a sturdy surface, but yet there's something about the material that I think kind of grips the ball a little better and then releases it, which I think is where the spin comes from. So that's the hype right now with the Kevlar. It's not carbon. Carbon after a while it breaks down, after you beat it enough. So then you have to look for a replacement. But I mean, if in some cases it's not good as a paddle manufacturer because your paddle may never lose its grip and you'll
They
never
won't need
sell
the other
another
one.
one,
Right. You don't have to
But
come back for a second.
right, right. But it's still, it's what's hot right now. So again, it's a technology that's not patented, so we're gonna get our hands on it and we're gonna try to sell it at a cheap price.
Yeah, well, you are obviously up to date on your paddle technologies and you're putting out quality products. But I am also interested in these designs on them because they are so sleek. And for people who are listening and not watching, I highly recommend going to check them out because the design on them is beautiful. It's attractive. It looks like a really classy paddle. Who does the designs for you? Do you create those yourself?
No, so we actually we spent a lot of time just searching for them. And we just did like an open search and we just looked and we tried many of them. There were some that we came across and then we would import them to to what's that? Adobe. Adobe,
Mm,
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It would we'd import it and try to work on cropping it and making it fit. And it took, I think it took about a week before we finally landed on the three that we wanted. And so we just open sourced, looked for them, and then we obviously looked to see if there were rights or anything like that, and there weren't. So we went ahead and used them, and all three of them. I don't know if you guys have asked me. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but we are faith based and you know Christian, and so all three paddles start one with J, right? So there's three J's in the
Triple J.
first three
Yep.
paddles. Yeah, with the launch, and then with the King, obviously you have the word King in there, which is a crown. So we looked for a crown, and that's where we put it. And then the Judah, there's a reference, in Scripture to the Lion of Judah, which is the tribe where Jesus came from. So he's addressed as the Lion of Judah. So we slapped the lion on the paddle. And then for the last one, we have the Judge, which obviously we have the statue there, which resembles the judgment, right? So yeah, that's kind of where we went about that. I wish I had the creative mind to come up with things like that, on my own, but I'm not that artistic. So yeah, that was just something that we spent a lot of time looking for. I wish we could take credit for those designs. So whoever did them, great job out there. But yeah, we played with them and slapped them on there, and they fit. They printed well, which was another thing
mhm.
we were looking for, how they would print. And yeah, so we had them submit it, and our manufacturer printed them, and they came out looking pretty good.
Not only are they beautiful, right, and then really classy design, but a lot of people are concerned when there's a lot of graphics on a paddle that
Sure.
it impacts the grit, it impacts,
Hmm.
how the ball comes off. Some people really stay away from high graphic paddles, right? High
Right.
graphic faces. I didn't notice, at least, from my personal play with both the Judah and the Jocking, that it affected spin in any way. Can give us your feedback on that.
Yeah, so I haven't had any issues with that myself. I know that it'll vary too on which side of the paddle you're playing when it's completely almost empty of graphics. And then I've had people who reviewed the paddle on Instagram and YouTube who also didn't mention anything about there being an issue with the grip. So we haven't had any issue. That's why we also placed them on the outside, where it's very likely the shot's already going to be probably not what you intended to do if you're hitting on that end. So you know what I mean? So but yeah, we took that in consideration, and we just kind of, I don't know, we were really more concerned about the conversation that could be sparked, from, because then in conversation comes community. So we were really hoping more on, do we just make a plain paddle, or do we make a paddle that, might, for the pickleball paddle people that are really really about the paddles, it might draw them away. But in terms of other people, it might just be the conversation they needed.
That's very true. And you mentioned community and how it could spark a conversation. In your latest video that you posted on Instagram, you had mentioned that this year that you are hoping to kind of go into underprivileged areas and bring pickleball to them. Can you explain to us kind of what those plans look like and
Yeah,
if
sure.
anyone
So
listening can help in any way?
yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, so I live in the South Atlanta area of Clayton County, and in years past, I don't think it's so bad now, but it's always different when someone from the outside is looking into your area. To them it could be the worst area ever. To me, I don't know. I'm not really, but some people claim that it's like the worst. So there's a very beautiful park here in Clayton County that was actually used in the Olympics in Atlanta of '96. The Olympic Committee made the park, and then they gifted it to the county. And I don't think the county knew what to do with it. So it was when I was going to school, it was horrible. It was an ugly park. But now they revamped it. And one of the things that they're doing now is they're actually rebuilding the tennis complex, and they're building like a good amount of pickleball courts. So I'm actually friends with the guy that's on the committee who's making that happen. And what we hope to do is hopefully to offer clinics and events like those that can introduce the sport to, because there, if you go around and just look around the neighborhoods, I guarantee you there's tennis courts that are not being used.
Yeah.
Right, they're just there. They got weeds growing out. So I mean, how cool would it be to go in and clean that up? Maybe lay down some tape, bring some paddles, and introduce people to the sport of it. And what we're also hoping to do is to partner with local churches so that when we have these events, they can ask what the needs for the community are. A lot of churches, they don't have an access. They don't have a way to get into the community because of whatever, the social economic barriers, or maybe even the opinions that people might have towards church people. You know what I mean? There's always that. But if we can create a sport or an event, right, that old people and young people can play, I'm pretty sure that we can get people, from whatever type of diverse backgrounds to get together and have a conversation. And if we can make that happen, then I think a lot more people will find community, and maybe places they didn't think they could. So that's one of the things that we're hoping to do. We do have one sponsored athlete, and his name is Sam, great kid down in Florida. He's actually, we were talking the other day, and he's telling me that right now he's undergoing classes on how to run clinics. So what we're hoping is that, once he gets that through and he feels confident, maybe we can have him run a few up here in Georgia, and man, just start getting involved with the community. Like, what are the needs? You know what I mean? We understand, there's, probably all types of needs and in shapes and forms, but I think the more specific you can know, the more you can, build those relationships and hopefully get to a place where pickleball was used as a medium to, help the community.
I think that's amazing, and I really appreciate it, and respect what you're trying to do for the community. You had mentioned earlier that you're a youth pastor, and it is one of the goals is to kind of introduce pickleball to more of the youth in the area, to kind of keep them, occupied, give them
Sure.
an interest, and
Yeah.
hopefully keep them out of trouble and all that kind of positive things that pickleball can do. Is that one of your goals moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned before, the learning curve for pickleball is so easy that I think any kid, who might have an athletic bone in his body is just gonna think he's the Ben Johns, of pickleball, and that's what we want. That's what we want, and hopefully it'll brew some competitiveness among them to where now they're coming to play pickleball rather than, whatever other kind of distraction could be out there for them. And that's the number one key is there's just not structure, in a lot of these kids' lives, and the structure is what they need. And if we can provide them a structured time and a structured place, I think we can make relationships there as well. And then hopefully get, like I said, people involved from local churches to mentor and to help them grow.
Yeah.
So
Well, you and your Triple J team are doing amazing things out there. Where can
thank you.
people get in contact with you or order a paddle? What's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, so if I'm big on Instagram, I tried TikTok, not for me. I know it's a necessity, and we hope to get there one day, but it's just so like data heavy, But yeah, if
Right.
you go on Instagram and you just search Triple J Pickleball, you'll see this ugly face on there and probably some videos of us and our paddles. And then there's a link up there where you can go to our website, or you can just type up triplejpickleball.com and have a visit to one of our website, and you'll see the paddles there and everything like that. We're trying to segue into other things like maybe clothing in the future and stuff like that, but it's a very small team. And like I mentioned in that video on Instagram, we are debt free, and being debt free is what's helping us keep the prices extremely low. So we're trying not to get in the hole to just so we can put out great content and stuff like that. We'd rather keep the prices low, and word of mouth is amazing for us. This has been our greatest advertisement. It's just people saying like, "Hey, these paddles are great."
You do have great paddles, and you do make them extremely affordable, and then you're so generous that you're actually offering our listeners a discount code as well.
Yep.
So if people go onto your site and want to order paddles, they can type in third shot as a discount code and receive an additional discount. Not, I mean, it's already a fantastic price point. But if you could save a little bit more, if it helps our
Why not?
audience out, why not? And we really appreciate that, Luis, because you are doing really good things for the community. We appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank y'all for giving me the opportunity.
Of course. And one last cheers, our third shot of the night to
Yeah, there's a
Triple
there's,
J.
there's like a three theme going on, right? Triple J,
Let's
third
go.
shot,
It
right?
must
Here we
be. It
go.
must be something about threes.
There's got to be something, right? There's got to be something about threes. Cheers to Triple
Cheers.
J. I highly recommend anybody that is looking for a paddle, beautiful designs, go to the Triple J Pickleball website. It's triplejpickleball.com. Go on Instagram, like Luis is saying, look up Triple J Pickleball. You'll find him. He says he's got an ugly face. He's a good looking guy. He's very eloquent, good
Thank you.
communicator, great posts. So I think you're going to be extremely happy when you do your research and you get this paddle in your hand. You're going to really enjoy playing the paddles as Bridgie and I have. And
Thank
for
you,
all
man.
our listeners,
Thank you.
thank you so much for all the support that you provided us. We need to continue to search and find exciting guests just like Luis for future episodes, new products, new types of topics around the pickleball community. We're always looking to expand the types of interviews that we do. We have some exciting ones coming up. So please tune back in and take a listen to some of the upcoming interviews. I think you're going to be really excited and enjoy the people that we have on. Please keep supporting the show. Subscribe, right? Subscribe to Third Shot Podcast. Give us your support. We'll keep sharing our stories, our enjoyment for the game, and let's keep it together and let's grow this pickleball community. I know Luis is doing his job. Bridgie and I are trying to do ours. We could always use some more support, and let's get behind this. Let's keep growing this community. So thank you so much for listening, and please come back and listen to Third Shot Podcast again. Take care.